Wanna open up the song, paying homage cause the navigator's nothing without a pilot. Pilot lit, as a matter of fact, I'm the sacrificial land battery in my back. Ayy, just came from Jake's little homie birthday party a month ago. He was alive riding out on his Harley. Yeah, God, please tell me
what is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. We're going to be talking about a house today that doesn't get an iota of the credit or shine it deserves on YouTube, and that is the house of Annick Goutal. Now, before we get into the house and fragrance, I want to give two people some shout outs. One for recognizing the quality of this brand, and the other for letting me know about this fragrance. So first up, there's another reviewer out there, Sebastian, his name is. He's got a channel called Man Loves Cologne, and he's a fabulous reviewer, first and foremost. What I love about his channel is he doesn't just focus on expensive fragrances. You're not just going to see him review the top shelf stuff. He runs the gamut, sort of like I enjoy cheaper fragrances as well. I don't always review them, but I definitely have lots of under $20 and $30 bottles in my collection, as does he. He really likes finding the gems out there. So I really, I like that about him. He's also a pillar in the fragrance community, and he's frequently reviewed fragrances from Annick Goutal and talked about the house. So he hasn't been one of those people who's ignored Goutal. I certainly have, and I want to give him his due for that. Secondly, many of you know that I do these sample shopping episodes where I talk about fragrances that Decant Shop sends to me, and usually I pick some out, but then the owner, Adriana, she'll send me ones every time, 5 or 10, sometimes 15, that she thinks I'll like, and she sent me this one, and I was very pleasantly surprised and blown away. So shout out to Adriana at Decant Shop for having so many great fragrances and putting me on to so many great fragrances. The fragrance we're going to be talking about today is called Nuit Etoilee. And before we talk about this stunning fragrance, let's talk about the house and get some proper backstory here. Annick Goutal is a French house that was started by a woman named Annick Goutal. She was a pianist and a model. And to be honest, if you look at her online, maybe I can put a picture in here, she was a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. When she was a little girl in Paris, where she was born, her father owned a confectionery, which is a candy shop, and she would help out by tying little ribbons around the candies, and that would later influence the way that she would package her fragrances. She started also playing the piano at age 6, and in 1961, at the age of 16, won first prize for piano at the prestigious Versailles Conservatory. Also a very free spirit, decided when she got a bit older to leave London and become an au pair. It didn't take long before she was noticed by a world-renowned photographer named David Bailey, and an international modeling career was launched. But Goutal wasn't fulfilled by that life. She felt like she really wasn't doing anything, and she had a yearning to create. So she went back to Paris, and she opened up an antique shop where she met her husband and had a daughter named Camille in 1975. But in 1997, she fell ill and closed the shop. Once she was recovered, she and a very good friend of hers named Micheline started a skincare line. The line didn't really do that well at first, and that's where Annick's experience at her father's shop paid off. She started to package the creams with beautiful bows and extravagant labels that looked like they belonged more on candy than beauty products. But there was another problem. The creams didn't smell that good, so she went to Paris to a bunch of different perfumers to try to get the creams to smell better, and she really wasn't satisfied until she met a man named Henry Sorsana. And meeting Henry allowed her to explore a different side of herself, and she discovered that she wanted to become a perfumer, and she was just a natural at the art, because it turned out that she would compose fragrances in the same way that she would compose music. So all these things that she learned in her life really prepared her for what she considered to be her true vocation, making fragrances. And I think that's such an inspiring and wonderful story that I just had to convey it to you guys, because sometimes there's a bigger plan than what you can see at the moment. In 1980, Annick opened her first fragrance shop in Paris. In 1981, she released a fragrance called Eau de Hadrian, which really put her and the house on the map. And the rest, they say, my friends, is history. Now, Annick Goutal is one of the most respected houses in the world, and it's looked at as a very classic French house with a litany of timeless fragrances. We in the community seem to be, for the most part, the only ones that ignore the genius of this house. It does really well in department stores all around the world, including Bloomingdale's and Saks. Now, very unfortunate end to this story. Annick passed away from cancer in 1999. But for us, she left 2 daughters, Camille Goutal and Isabelle Doyen, who both love the art that their mother loved so much and continue to make fragrances in her name. And I had really ignored this house until I got that sample from Adriana, and no more. I'm definitely going to be exploring this house in more depth. I've got a couple more fragrances that I ordered from Annick Goutal coming to me. And this one in particular retails for about $120, but I was able to get it off Amazon for $70 for 100 ml. It is an EDT concentration, but it is available as an EDP concentration for another $20 or so. You can also get the EDT in a women's bottle for the $70 price. Most of the fragrances come in men's and women's bottles, same fragrances, just different bottles, but the EDP only comes in the women's bottle. It doesn't come in the men's bottle, so just keep that in mind. This fragrance was created by Annick's daughter Isabelle Doyen in 2012, so it's fairly new, and the inspiration here was a starry sky, moonlit, the cool scent of the woods, and the enjoyment of nature and solitude. And notes on this fragrance are citron, sweet orange, peppermint, Siberian pine, fir resin, angelica seed, tonka, and immortelle. So let's take a look at presentation. Box is a really beautiful color, just as a Annick Goutal Nuit Etoilee. There you have the concentration, eau de toilette, the name, just sort of some art with some logos, a little bit about Annick Goutal on the back, and then you have that same sort of cresting there, and bottom's going to have a batch code and barcode, top not much. And then as far as your bottle goes, I really like this bottle. It's sort of a standard bottle, right? But the coloring is just beautiful. I love the sticker on it. The bottom you have batch code, and the back you have concentration information and size, and then of course the top comes off and you're left with a very, very nice atomizer. So I have absolutely no complaints about this presentation. I think it's very good presentation. But let's talk about what you're going to get out of this fragrance. Well, first off, you're going to get an orange note very similar to the orange note in Little Italy by Bond Number 9. And I think Bond Number 9's Little Italy is an absolutely horrendous fragrance. So thankfully, that's where the comparison stops. That orange note is sort of a lifesaver, artificial candy orange note. And in Little Italy, that orange is surrounded by nothing else. It's sort of left out there on an island. Thankfully, that's not the case with this fragrance. This is beautifully surrounded by very unique notes. First, you've got peppermint, just a great peppermint, herbal peppermint that's different from any other mint scent out there. This mint has an earthiness to it, which sort of fits right into the starry night theme and being outdoors. You're also going to get just beautiful pine, authentic pine. So the pine and the peppermint make this sort of a green fragrance, but green with a sweet orange note. And again, let me be clear, the orange isn't a citrus sort of bitter essence orange. It's more like biting into a fresh tangerine or clementine and smelling that type of orange. What else you're going to get? You're going to also get out fir resin, which is going to give you this sort of woody, holiday spice, Christmas tree vibe to it. And you're also going to get immortelle, which is going to give the sweet, spicy vibe along with the tonka bean. So a lot of things going on in this fragrance, but everything sort of coming together to just give you this very beautiful outdoor sort of night in the forest smell. And as this dries down, what really becomes the most dominant notes are the sweet orange, the pine, and the fir resin. But really the sweet orange is the most assertive of all the notes. Now, this is the EDT version, as I said, so longevity isn't going to blow you out of the water, but it still lasts on my skin, I'd say 6 to 8 hours. Projection is moderate. It's not going to leap off your skin, but someone doesn't have to be your conjoined twin to smell you. But the one knock I sort of have on this is that I don't think it's terribly versatile. While I could see it working in all 4 seasons, I can't see it working in all occasions. It's not something I think I'd want to wear to the office. I think where this fragrance will really do well for you is in cooler spring and fall evenings on very casual occasions. Absolutely a unisex scent. It's packaged as an EDT in men's and women's bottles, but again, just remember, as an EDP only in the women's bottle. But the bottom line is that this is going to work for men and women both just fine. what is really great about this fragrance and the Goutal house is that they really march to the beat of their own drum. Their fragrances aren't just adding on to the pile, they're doing something new and they're adding something to the industry, and I really like that. I haven't smelled a Goutal fragrance that I've disliked yet, and because plenty of them, and the most popular ones, can be found on Amazon, there's really no excuse to not give this house a big chance. As I said before, Decant Shop sent me my first decan of this, and I knew right off the bat that I would have to buy this fragrance, and it worked its way up my list, and I've got about 800 fragrances on my list to get, and this worked its way up it pretty quickly, and that only happens if I really enjoy something. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It doesn't perform as well as I would have liked, but I think maybe the EDP does. And maybe I should have gotten the EDP because I think this lacks a bit in projection and longevity. Other than that, though, I think this is a great fragrance. I love the house's story. Well, the bottles seem a bit common. The colors and labels are just beautiful. Overall, this is just a really well executed fragrance from the house. And it's great that even though Annick Goutal unfortunately passed on, her name is being carried on with a high level of quality and dignity and respect by her two daughters. So an amazing story, and this is a great fragrance. I think that you're probably going to see this on my top 10 niche purchases in 2014. It also very well might make its way into my spring or summer starting lineup, but I really recommend you guys check out Nuit Etoilee by Annick Goutal. And if you don't want to get the full bottle, just go to Decant Shop, get yourself a little sample, and see what you think, because you're not going to smell anything like this. This is a 101. I can promise you that. Anyway, that has been this week's episode of Maximilian Must Know. Please stay tuned next week for 2 more episodes, sample shopping, and another fragrance review. Next week, we're going to be reviewing a fragrance from the House of Valentino. You guys can probably already guess. Yes, I'm reviewing Valentino Uomo. So anyone who's been wanting to see a review of that or waiting to see a review of that, it is on the cusp. I've had it for a little bit now, and I feel comfortable enough to do a review. But please check this fragrance out. Don't forget to comment, hit like, and subscribe. My name is Maximilian.